Hey, what's up, everyone? It's me, Dre. I wanted to make this video because the subject matter that I talk about, it has to deal a lot with the social injustices in this country, and a lot that has to do about the racism in this country. Now, again, I've made videos where people have questioned me, asking, why do I talk about it so much? And it's very simple. As a black man in America, especially with Donald Trump being elected to be our next president, you see a lot of racists out there that have come out of the woodwork and are more open with their racism. Now, for me, during his whole campaign trail, living here in South Texas, of course, I live around a lot of Mexicans. Some have actually voted for Donald Trump because they see themselves apart from Mexicans that live south of the border and feel like they're above Mexicans or that racism can't touch them. One guy in particular, and I'm not going to say names, like I said, it's irrelevant at this point. A gentleman that I used to work with when I worked at Time Warner Cable, Mexican, and he was friended once on Facebook. And during one of our discussions where I was trying to educate him about the history of U.S. slavery and the impact of black people, because he didn't feel like slavery was as intense or as immersive and so impactful to black people. He questioned the validity of laws that prohibited blacks from learning how to read out of penalty of harsh prosecution or penalty of death. Those things were true. He didn't believe that slave owners would do things such as tie young pregnant women to trees, cut their bellies open, and then stomp on the head of the young child as a deterrent to keep slaves from wanting to leave or run away from the plantation. So in questioning that, I got a little perturbed. Normally I'd stay even keeled about a lot of things, but from one man of color to another, I had just finally drawn the line and say, you know, at this point, it's going to take someone in your family to experience the deep-hated and deep-seated racism that black people experience in order for you to fully grasp the concept of how poisonous and how venomous it is. And all of a sudden he got pissed off. And yes, I did say, I hope something like this happens to you or someone in your family, because that's what it's going to take. Sometimes seeing is believing. That's the old adage. And when it comes to racism in this country, as a person of color, no matter if you're Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, what have you, if you feel like you are above or you try to think that maybe you're as white and as privileged as white people, all it takes is for one white person to remind you that you are not one of them. So I told him, yes, I hope that you experience racism. I hope that one day your kids come home and say, what does a wetback mean? What does a beaner mean? Something like that. I wanted him to understand that this is something that I have to teach to my kids, because my kids are biracial, and the black half of them, when they go to school and their fellow students see that they have a black father, then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of hazing and bullying that could be experienced. What's going to happen if my kids come home and say, what is a nigger? My kids won't ever have to worry about coming home to say that, because I teach them that racism exists. It's not to hate anyone, but it's to educate them that because they're black, that they're going to experience at some point in time in their life, and to prepare for it. But for this guy, this again, Mexican, because it's predominantly Mexicans that live down here in South Texas, it goes without saying that there are black people down here, there are white people, there are Asians, Middle Easterns, and any one of those cultural groups can show any type of bias towards his ethnicity. But when it comes to racism in the United States, racism, the concept that one ethnic group has an inherent belief that their race is better than others, the sad truth is white supremacy. And when it comes to racism in the United States, you could try to flip this around or call it reverse racism, that black people racist, but black people haven't created a structure within the system that gives them the advantage. When it comes to the justice system, the economic system, that system does not benefit black people. There are black entrepreneurs out there, but there's still a system in place that marginalizes black people and people of color. And this is a harsh and sad truth that many are very uncomfortable facing. But when a black man is telling this to another man of color, and for him to denounce it, yes, I had to take it to that extreme. Needless to say, he unfriended me, and it's no skin off my dick, really. It's not, simply because for something like this, you're going to have to experience it for yourself in order to understand, yes, this does exist. Yes, when someone who is more privileged than I approaches me and treats me like I'm less than a human being, then I want that person to understand. I want his whole family, I want everyone in his lineage to understand what it's like to be treated as less than a human being. And for that reason, I have absolutely no sympathy for anyone, especially people of color, when they come across as though the casual racist or the overt racist won't target them. You already see it in the news where a lot of these racists are targeting women, going up to Muslim women and trying to pull the hijab off of their head, going up to Mexican women and telling them they don't belong in this country, going up to black women and saying go back to Africa. But again, these are cowards targeting women, not men, because they know this is not the 60s, and approaching a man with that kind of racial hate is going to get their fucking wig split. But again, for someone like this gentleman, he had to be made to understand. And I'm the kind of person that if you're not keeping it 100% because you're afraid to lose friends, then you're just not keeping it real. So, of course, when he dropped off my friend list, and over the past couple of months, a lot of people have severed ties with me. But I'm going to keep being who I am, simply because the message that I speak not for all black people, but for those who are awakened, who understand this message, for those who have been targeted by racism, someone that understands how hatred can come at you. And me as a black YouTuber, because people, not necessarily every day, but on a regular basis, call me nigger, say something against my family, tell me to go back to Africa, all because I'm black, all because I speak a black man's truth that they don't want to hear, because they refuse to accept truth for what it is. So when people decide to unfriend me, I say fuck them. If they decided to unfriend me because they can't understand that, because they speak or they live in a place of privilege, then I don't need them in my life. I don't need them in my life. The sun is still going to rise in the east and set in the west. I'm going to wake up every day breathing, and I'm going to go to sleep breathing. Anyway, if you like this video, hope that you like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook. Peace.